guys. It's me, Arlene J. Ramsey, CEO and founder of Everyone Let's Talk, also your favorite self wealth mentor. So, this segment, it is a Sunday, what is it? Today is December 3rd. No, actually, Sunday, December 2nd. This segment, I'm discussing Candace Owens and more of my thoughts on Marc Lamont Hill. So today I had a long day of just researching the both of them on YouTube, just watching back to back clips like nobody's business on a Sunday when I should be relaxing, right? I'm just doing all of this researching and just learning more about who the both of these fine individuals are. Okay, so what brings me to this is that, I've been hearing a lot of negative commentary about both individuals. And I am never one to come to a firm conclusion about anyone or anything without doing my due diligence, and that's my own research, okay? What I love about Candace, I think I looked up her birthday. She's a Taurus, so we don't share anything the same. She's Earth sign fixed Taurus. I'm a Sagittarius. So is Marc Lamont Hill. We're gonna get more on him later. However, what I like about Candace is a lot of the things that she say and her angle has been what I've been saying for a long time. She's a conservative as far as the politics is concerned. I'm still a Democrat, right? I haven't gotten to the point of changing my political party to, liberal, conservative, Republican, or anything like that. I'm Democrat, and I do firmly believe that I can remain a Democrat and shift the paradigm within the system by doing what I do best, which can create the outcome that I'm looking to see. And a lot of that is stepping up and being the change that I so wish to see. All right. Also, I am not in favor of this victimhood. I talk about that so often in one-on-one conversations, whether it's I do a live feed on Facebook or have a debate on Facebook. You will hear me discuss that we have to get out of the thought process or the brainwashing of being a victim. And that's what I like about Candace. Part of what I like about her is that she opposes that. Like, it's to the point where she has like a strong disdain for that. Okay, and I understand where it comes from. One of the things that I heard her say is that a lot of Black people today are using the experiences of our ancestors, but none of us have gone through. Those are not the words that she said, but that's what I can say because I don't remember her word for word verbatim. However, I totally agree about that. Now, here's the thing. What I don't like is that she's also not addressing what is happening as far as racism is concerned in today's day and age, because racism still exists, and I don't really stress the word racism in that way, opposed to more so than saying it's personal ideologies of people from the Caucasian race and their own little individual, what did I say? Personal and personalities, has a lot to do with what's going on the oppression of the Black race, and I'm going to talk about the perspective that Marc Lamont Hill addressed. But her perspective is that we can go and achieve anything that we want to achieve. She's against abortion. She talks about the eugenics. I'm not one to say that I'm against abortion. I am pro-choice. However, that's her decision. That's what she stands for, and it's okay. I like that she's very professional, and she asks those who oppose her to give her specific reasons on why you're opposing what she's saying. So it's the thing that what I say all the time, like, calm down, because a lot of how we combat a thing that we don't like is if it's not based off of what we're accustomed to hearing, seeing, and doing. So if we don't start our speech or revolution with, listen, our ancestors went through slavery and X, Y, if we don't start from there, then nothing we say is making sense and we're considered to be a coon for those of us who choose to go a different direction. But she's not a coon. She's been black all her life, right? There's been a lot that she's been through, and she's seen exactly how the Democratic Party, when they implemented the welfare system, how the welfare system deteriorated the black family, and it enabled the black family to sit around and wait for a paycheck from the government, opposed to where. So it took the black man out of the house, and I made a recording about this a couple of weeks ago. Now the black man is out of the house in order for that family to receive that welfare. So now those skill sets that are needed to build and bond and build a unison between a man and a woman, they forgot about that. Those skill sets weren't built. You know, a black man doesn't, if he doesn't have those skill sets, then he cannot firmly or positively lead his family because he's not going to be respected or listened to. So it created a problem and a breakdown in the black family. I like that she's in favor of entrepreneurship. So what she says is her idea, her stance is, in other words, this is a free country. No one has you shackled down and stuck. You can formulate your ideas and then go out there and get what you want to get out of life. You know, saying that the white man isn't going to give you this and they're only going to take it away from you and they're this and they're that and they're the other, according to how she calls it, it's fear mongering, right? So what happens with that is that once people allow fear to set in and they believe that, they become crippled, paralyzed, and unable to move in a direction that best benefits them. And now we got this big old boogeyman, which is, you know, white supremacy, who is just waiting and lurking for when I go to graduate to do bigger and better things in my life, to just pull the rug up under my feet and watch me fall on my face. Now, here's the thing. There are some people out there that do that. However, the more we push for a better life, bettering ourselves, better success, different angles, the less likely they're going to be as, how can I say, as progressive. The less likely they'll be as progressive with pulling the rug from under our feet and watching us fall. Because then there will be too many of us that are striving to do bigger and better things about our lives instead of sitting around waiting for a paycheck, right? Now, I don't agree with how she goes after, you know, Oprah, your Jay-Z's, your Beyonce's. I get where she's coming from. I don't agree with that. However, I agree with the angle she's sticking at, and that is, tell me why you continue to vote Democrat. What has that been doing for you? What has it done for, and if not you, what has it done for someone else within the black community? You know, are you able to become an entrepreneur? Like she mentioned, this is another thing that I like about her. She mentions that the more we rise up and start doing better for ourselves, the less likely government will be involved in our lives. So what she also believes is having big government calls for us having least control over our own personal lives and our decision-making process. So the more we're able to become entrepreneurs, and what she says is she mentioned there was a family member or a friend that tried to get a lemonade stand or food truck, I think. Food truck, and she talked about the lemonade stand. And she talked about all the red tape that they had to go through just to get all their paperwork solidified to have this food truck and the lemonade stand. And she's in a disagreement with all of this red tape and all of this process just to have a food truck. So what she's saying is that, and she's blaming that on big government. And what she's saying is if we're more conservative and we're more proactive about our lives, we wouldn't have government sticking us with all of this red tape. Then we'll be able to, if we wanted to have a food truck, just go out and get it. Go out and get it and get your paperwork together and go out and sell your favorite dish. Go out and be creative. Go out and do things in the community. Help someone else. And that's her angle. That's her perspective. I see that she's fired up. She's ready and on point to snap back. Okay, hold on. She's ready and on point to snap back. I'm drinking a Corona. I do think that she can tone it down a bit. I understand where she's coming from, and she's totally tired of the black community telling her what she won't be able to accomplish because of this white boogeyman. So I totally get it. Because the way we word things, and I'm going to get on that in a minute. However, what I want you to understand, Candace, is that just like one thing you mentioned about your YouTube channel is that you try to keep it short because you also understand the attention span of people, right? So I say this to say, be careful on how you're snapping back all the time, because I see a lot of people making comments, and by their commentary about what they've envisioned from your character just from that recording, tells me that they're not going to take the time to go to other video YouTube clips or watch other interviews with you. They've made their opinion and mind up about you just from that one recording. So you can tone it down a bit. You don't have to be so combative like this. You already know your angle. You already know how you're going to address and approach certain topics, certain things when people say things at you. Allow people to say what they say and calmly do things in a way where you force them to even to address their own thought process. And there's a better way to go about doing it. That's the only thing I can say about how you can better yourself, okay? The other thing I would like to see you do is address more of police brutality, because we do have to be real with that. We've seen too many of our people die unexpectedly. There's no reasoning for it. They're dying, running away from the police officer, and I get it. I was in a community here in Newark, New Jersey. The Mayor Roz Baraka, put together a great program with the Newark Special Police, and it was for the community. Excuse me. And one of the things that I've learned in that program was that police officers, although you're running away from them, you're still considered a threat. You might not be a direct threat to the police officer that you're running away from, but what they just explain it as is that you can run and grab somebody and create a hostage situation. You can go run somewhere and get a weapon and then come back and use that very same weapon on the police officer. So just because you're running away from that police officer doesn't mean that you're not a threat to anyone or even that police officer at all. You can very well come back and be a threat unexpectedly. Henceforth, running away from the police officer does not mean that you're not a threat. And they will shoot. They will shoot. So running away from the officer is not a good thing, right? In that class, the people that were in that program were all the people that I would expect to be in the program. Those are the people that are very involved in the community. So, I would expect them to be in that program and get abreast of this information. However, those other people in the community who were not involved in politics, and they rely on the people like us to go in those programs and get the information and then trickle it out. We need to start seeing more people like that in these programs. And the problem with the black community, and this is what I like about Candace's perspective, the problem with us is that we don't step up. We're not accountable enough. We complain, the white man is the boogeyman, white supremacy, racism. Yes, we complain about that, and we just want to, go to war, we're angry and we're frowned up, all of that. However, when it comes to making the decisions to better our lives, I'm not talking about a job or something simple, the basic things. I'm talking about things outside of the basic things. We're not involved enough. That's when we get quiet, and that's when we sit back and we're always waiting for someone else to do something on our behalf. That has to stop. It has to stop. Okay? Because how I handle my life, the information that I'm drawn to, you may not need it, or it may not be. It may not be something that you and your family need, depending on the information, right? You see, so you can't always rely on me to come and to get some information or to come up with a plan that's going to help you out in some type of way. You're responsible for you, and you know exactly what you need. If you took the time to pay attention to you and your family and your circumstances, you know exactly what you need that will make your life better. So in essence, what she's saying is that this whole thought process about sitting back and waiting for someone to do something for you, as if you're waiting for a mother or a father, that's the Democrat mindset. And what she's saying is that party is the reason why the black race don't step up enough on their own behalf. And that's what I like about her debates and her arguments. She holds no punches, is straight up, no holds barred. Like, I'm not here to play with any of you. I'm here to give it to you raw. And that's what I like about her. She did say that she won't be running for presidency because it's too much of a stressful job. She likes defending the White House from the outside. I appreciate seeing her present herself and handle herself. She does it very well. She doesn't need any help, and she shoots straight from the hip. Sharpshooter. The only thing you can do, Candace, is that you can calm down a bit. Calm down a bit. Okay? Now, let me go to Marc Lamont Hill. Okay? Because the last video that I did about him yesterday, of course, as I told you guys in that recording, I didn't know much about him. So the only thing I was able to talk from was from the point of how and why they fired him. Okay? And from a little snippet of things that I've seen of him. But I saw some other things about him. Right? So now, Mark teaches African American studies at Morehouse. He's on the teacher's faculty at Columbia University. He's a professor at Temple University. He's a contributor to Fox News, has been on MSNBC, The O'Reilly Factor, host of the syndicated TV show Our World, which is with Black Enterprise. So he has a partnership with Black Enterprise. He also writes for the Huffington Post. Mark has his hands tied in a lot of different things. And what I like about Mark is that I think he identifies with being a liberal. What I like about him is that he addresses the issues that Candace don't address, but not from a perspective of I'm a victim. He talks about better ideas, new ideas to solve the issue of white supremacy and racism in the United States. Okay. What I like, about how he sees it is, he says that the racists, those that we know are racist, they're a problem, but they're not the main problem in the United States of America. It is the Caucasian people who think that they're not racist because they don't understand that they still have a perspective or a stereotype in their mind, and they're reacting off of that without realizing that they're reacting off of that. So they can say, well, listen, I'm not racist. I have black friends. I have this. I invite them over, X, Y, and Z. However, when you put them in a circumstance where they have to be faced with a black person that they don't know, not one that they do, with a black person that they don't know, pay attention to their behavior and their actions. And that behavior stems from their subconscious. So it is just it's a reaction that they're doing that they're not even cognizant that they're doing it. It's not a conscious action reaction. It is a subconscious reaction. So it comes out, and that's reactions like that is the purest. It's like its purest form because it's not doctored up. It's like when you're drunk and then you just start talking. What comes out of your mouth when you're drunk is you in its purest form, because now all of your defenses are broken down, so nothing you say is doctored up. The only thing is that you're inebriated, so you may be slurring, and some things you may sound, it may be out of place. However, the crux of what you're saying is coming from the purest form of your thoughts. Okay, so and this is not his words, this is just my way of interpreting what he says and what his angle is. So what he's saying is how they behave when they're faced with the black person also is part of the problem. Because now let me give you this example, and this is what he says. You walk down the street and you start clutching your purse and you start doing this, right? And it's because you subconsciously are threatened by that black person. So being that you are subconsciously threatened by that black person, when a police officer shoots a black person and say that they were a threat, you don't speak up and say they weren't a threat because you feel threatened by the black person as well. So now you believe the police officer when they say that they're threatened by this black person. And you don't associate it with being racist because in your mind you don't think that you're a racist. But because you have some of these stereotypes about the black race, you behave in a certain way. So whenever a narrative is out that is in alignment with your thought process, you lean to that narrative and you say it's not racism. This is what the problem actually is. But now here's the problem I have with that. The problem I have with that is that too many of you are not really speaking up from how you feel from within. When I look at the comments or listen to how a lot of Caucasian people defend what's going on in the United States of America, there's no real way to get to the bottom of how they think. It's like there's all I see. I can only speak from what I see, and I try. I even speak to the ancestors and everything to please remove all biases. So when I read comments, all I see is a lot of gaslighting and deflecting. So when there's gaslighting and deflection, there's no way of getting to the bottom of how they actually feel about black people and how we can solve the issue, right? Because what that is let's say this is what it is. Let me give you an example. Okay, your brother stole my coat and he gave it to someone else. Okay, because you don't want to address your brother as stealing my coat and he gave it to somebody else, your response is, well, that other person was cold. That's deflecting, right? The other person was cold and they needed a coat. So what your response is pretty much trying to say is have empathy for the other person because they were cold and they needed a coat. Okay, we understand that they were cold and needed a coat, but it was my fucking coat. You understand? And you're not addressing that it's my coat, and you're not addressing the fact that your brother took it to give it to somebody else that was in need. And that's the problem with the communication. There's a lot of breakdown in communication between black people and white people because white people do too much deflecting and gaslighting. And what happens is not enough people are able to understand that level of human behavior, so it frets the black race. And then the black race is saying, see, that right there is racism because you can't even admit when your white brothers and sisters do something wrong. You're telling me something else that has nothing to do with what I am directly speaking about and referencing. That's the problem that we're having with the white race. They don't want to address and that's what makes it, some people will call that white fragility, like fragile, they're always upset. That's what make the Caucasian brothers and sisters appear to be fragile whenever we have these discussion about racism. Okay, so his ideology is to address the underlining problem. And what he says the underlining problem is what I just explained. The whole thing of white fragility. Okay, he didn't say that, but this is what I'm saying. So I'm giving it to you in my words. Okay, um, his ideology is to address the fact that they deflect from the things that are happening, and due to that deflection, it allows for that bad behavior to continue on, and they're not picking up on that. Some of them are, okay, and then there's some of them that are not. But whenever they see, that's like, it's like a lot of you parents, when your children are bad, and someone tells you that, when the school calls you, you don't even want to go to the school. You don't want to address the fact that your child is misbehaving in school, and you think your child Buttercup is the best thing since Reese's peanut butter cups, right? But everyone can't be lying. When are you going to say, okay, let's address the fact that we have an issue here with my son or my daughter, and discuss those things and get to a great solution? So that's what it is. You guys are not addressing that. And the other problem is that the black community is too busy combating, very combative, and race. I talked about this a while back as well. Whereas we have to learn how to handle ourselves better in the presence of police officers. Too often, and I'm not saying this as to say that we deserve to have our lives taken, right? Because a mistake like this does not warrant police officers to take our lives at the rate that they've been doing it, okay? It's an absolute no-no. However, you have to understand that police officers still do have a great level of authority, and we have to respect that. Too often we don't respect it because now we're annoyed. If we get pulled over and we didn't do anything to get pulled over, we're annoyed because now automatically we're saying you're pulling us over because we're black. If I didn't run any red lights, I'm not speeding, I didn't cut anyone off, whatever the case may be, why did you pull me over? We do understand that that is a tactic that they do use. All right, they do single out black people, and they do pull black people over because what they understand is 8 times out of 10, if you pull a black person over, you're bound to find something wrong with their paperwork because the black race is suffering from the whole system. This system got the black race in a pinch hole. So I say this to say a lot of times they're not making the best amount of money. Therefore, they're living paycheck to paycheck. Therefore, there are going to be some bills that are suffering that they're not paying, that they're not taking care of. So you have issues where in the black community where a car, their registration expired, they didn't get the money to pay to renew the registration, don't have the money to renew their car insurance. You're bound to find something. And that's what they know. So that is something that needs to be addressed as well, that they have to stop doing that. Stop probing and pulling black people over because you know that you're going to find something. Because we're already under a lot of stress, right? So pulling the black person over is adding on to the stress. Okay? And for the life of me, I don't understand how our white brothers and sisters either don't know it or pretend that they don't know or understand that. Yet for all though, you have an attitude and you're upset when you're called a racist. You can't have your cake and eat it too in this situation, okay? And you just have to grow up, all right? Too often you have great defenses and great arguing points for things that doesn't make sense, and you're still not addressing what is happening. Too often you say, well, we don't know what happens before they started recording. Well, from what you see right now from the camera, does that warrant it for that black person to lose their life? That's all. But you don't answer that. And you try to turn a blind eye to that. But we're human beings, remember? God created all human beings in all different races, remember? Okay, so your fragility and your unwillingness to want to discuss the issue is small compared to black people losing their lives whenever they come face to face with police officers at alarming rates. Okay, your fragility can't be that important. Your feelings is not that important because your husband or your family still get to come home. You know, you're not afraid. When you drive down the street, you don't have to worry about getting pulled over unnecessarily by the police. That's not any of your worries. So, you know, you don't have all of these